It's a brand new day. Hey. Wake up every morning and say, it's a brand new day. Hey. Take a good day, make it great, okay? 'Cause if you got some lemons, make some lemonade. Yeah, taste those.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Garden Diaries. We're so happy that you're joining us and we're so excited that you're here with us. Please take a minute to like and share this video. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We'd love to have you a part of our stories. And just thanks for being here. We're so excited to be here again. And we have a really special guest today. And my shirt might give a couple tips, but Megan, who do we have?
We have Morgan Mitchell with us today. Welcome, Morgan. We're so excited to have you.
Excited to be here.
So, Morgan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where do I start? I was born and raised in Pensacola. Do you want like church type stuff, or do you just want just general facts?
General Morgan.
Just general facts. I was a cheerleader for a really long time, for like 15 years. No, not 15 years. I coached for 15 years, but I was a cheerleader for about 6 or 7 years. I have 2 sisters. That's pretty much it. I'm married. I got a kid named Reese. He's 5 years old. Yeah, that's the basis of it.
I'm pretty sure that your husband does something pretty cool, too.
Oh, yeah. You know, he does this one little thing on the weekends. It's not really a big deal. He just races late models locally around Pensacola, so...
He's a pretty good racer, and today we are actually going to sponsor a shirt for Kevin Mitchell for racing. The Garden Diaries is going to buy one and give one away to one of our listeners. So if you comment and like this video, you'll be entered into a drawing to win this really cool T-shirt for Kevin Mitchell Racing, and it's got lots of really fancy stuff on the back. I'm not going to get up, but you'll be really surprised when you get it. But
Some 99 swag.
99 swag, yes. So if you... I mean, even if you don't like racing, a free T-shirt, anyone would love a free T-shirt.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So just comment and like, and we'll put you into a drawing for a really cool T-shirt.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do it.
Well, we like to start our podcast off with some really fun icebreaker questions. So I'm going to let Megan start with her question for you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm nervous.
Morgan, if you could live in a different country for a year, which country would you choose and why?
That's a really good question. I would live in Italy because my grandfather came over from Italy. I'm not really sure what area in Italy, but I would like to take a year and figure it out. He came over through Ellis Island and everything way back in the early 1900s. And yeah, I'd like to learn more about the Argentines. I'd like to learn more about them.
Fun fact, my sister-in-law, her parents, her dad was stationed over there, and they got to live over there for like 3 years, and they said it was amazing. Yeah,
I have a friend that used to teach with me, and she lived over in Italy for about 2 years, and she loved it. And she told me all the things and all the pasta classes that she took, and I was like, why aren't you teaching me how to make pasta?
All right, Morgan. Brittany, do you have a question?
We're really confused today on the names. So we have Megan and Morgan, and I keep calling them Morgan and Megan, Megan and Morgan. But my name is B. So
I just saw your shirt.
It's the Mitchell.
That's awesome. Okay, so mine is kind of interesting. Tell me something like old that you do. So like, what is your old person thing that you do?
Oh.
What gives off granny vibes?
I like to crochet.
Oh.
I crocheted, self-taught. I've crocheted some Afghans for my sisters when they moved out of the house, and I made one of my best friends a little baby blanket for her baby, my godson. So my sister's pregnant now, so I want to make her a little baby blanket too.
Oh,
I love
so
that.
sweet.
My granny vibes.
I don't have patience enough to sit there and do that. Like, I'd get bored and be like, I'm done with this.
It's really like you have to find like a new pattern, and then like once you really start getting it, it's like sounds gross. It's like when you're like picking at something, it's like real intricate detail. So yeah.
But I feel like I'm not a rule follower. So I'd be like, this doesn't look right.
The beauty of like making an Afghan, you don't have to do the same colors. You can do different colors, different
Like,
rows.
I'm bored with this one.
Yeah, do a different pattern. Knock yourself
I'm
out.
going to go this way.
It gets a little confusing when you like drop a stitch or something and then you're like off your rows and you're like, I messed this up. We'll start over.
Yeah.
Okay, I have another question for you.
Okay.
If you invented an ice cream flavor, what ingredients would it have and what would it be called?
Okay, here we go. So it would definitely have a chocolate base. Okay. Chocolate base. We would have some type of pretzel in it, but it would also be sugar-free, lactose-free, but it wouldn't taste like it.
Oh,
okay.
good.
It would taste more of like a gelato. And I would like peanut butter inside of it. And I'm not really sure what I would call it. I would just probably the salty sweet craving. The midnight hour. That's probably
that's
what
a
I
good
call
one.
it, midnight hour.
That's good.
And it can be a guilty pleasure because it's sugar-free.
It's sugar-free. You can eat it as many times as you want.
I have never had an ice cream that is good that is sugar-free.
Or lactose-free.
Yeah.
I've tried like coconut milk-based ones and I'm like, nope.
I haven't had the coconut-based ones. I want to try the oat milk, not oatmeal. The oat milk-based ones. My friend told me about those and said they were pretty good. But like, yeah,
I do love oat milk, so I could see that.
the Halo Top ones. It just like it depends on which one you get.
Okay.
Non-sponsored.
Right? Drop in the comments
Unless
if
you want
what
to sponsor us. So we can try all the ice cream.
Or maybe sponsored.
Maybe we just make this into an ice cream tasting.
That's what we should have brought ice cream today. That would have been it's really hot today.
Yeah.
It is hot today. Okay, so my last question is that if money wasn't an option, like you didn't have to work, explain to me your ideal day.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. With kids,
Your ideal day.
like current state. Okay. We're like anything. Okay. So I would have a nanny to come pick up Reese and take him on the like best day ever. And then I would leisurely snooze and not have to get up to get him ready until about 9 o'clock ish. At that time, I would live on the beach. At the same time, you didn't give me parameters, so here we go.
I like it.
I would live on the beach, and I would just like leisurely go out and relax on the beach for like 2 or 3 hours, then go get me some like nice seafood on the beach. I would be able to read my book or listen to my book, depending on what book I'm reading. And then I would take a nap for about 3 to 4 hours, basically until my next meal. Go eat. I really like concerts, so I would like to go to like a wonderful concert, preferably Crowder or Lauren Daigle. Again, no parameters, right? So they're on Pensacola Beach having a concert. And go to bed by like 9 p.m. so I can get 10 hours of sleep and do it again.
Love that.
Sounds like a good day.
Yeah.
Can I join you?
Please.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We gotta get some buy-in from some worship artists for a concert, though.
I think I can convince my husband to take the kids for the day. He can be the nanny for the day.
Oh, done. Check.
Okay, so that's one thing checked off.
Are you okay with 2 more children?
Shout out to Mike, who literally is running the show behind the scenes. You don't get to see him, and I know we've said this before, but thanks, babe, for being our hands and feet of making this possible. We appreciate you.
He gave a thumbs up. Okay, so those are our fun questions, just to kind of ease into the conversation.
Did you ask your second question?
Yeah, ice cream.
Ice cream.
Oh,
The midnight hour.
I mean, I have another one. I can throw.
I guess I was spacing. It's been a long week.
yes, ditto. Ditto.
So you wanna?
No, I want you to get into it now.
Okay. Well, I was trying. So as you know, like this podcast is, we meet with women, talk about the real, the raw, and their redemption stories, their walks with Jesus, and what their life has looked like, and what God has brought them through. So we want to hear a little bit of your story and what circumstances you've come in encounter with and that God has walked you through. So,
All right. Buckle up, Buttercup.
I'm ready. I'm excited.
So just to kind of give a little bit of background, I was a teacher for about 9 years, and that wasn't really like what I wanted to do. But Kevin and I got married in about 2015. That's about the time we got saved, or that I got saved, and I started teaching, and everything was great. Around 2017 was when I was diagnosed with anxiety and a little bit of OCD tendencies. I was having panic attacks every single day, just from an assortment of things, just life, trying to be a perfectionist, a people pleaser, obviously being a teacher is super stressful. And it kind of just kept going from there. I started getting treated for anxiety and stuff, and I kind of thought like, okay, this is it. I have to take anxiety medicine for the rest of my life. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but like, I thought like that's what I signed up myself for at the age of 26 or so, and so around 2017, 2018, things between me and Kevin kind of got a little hard. The anxiety definitely took on a big impact and was really destructive to our marriage. We've known each other for now probably 17 years. We've been together 17 years. We've known each other since 6th grade, so I don't know, 20 plus years. So we've been friends for a long time. So it really impacted the dynamic of our friendship. So, he was doing the best that he could. I was doing the best I could. I leaned a lot onto food. That's always been my comfort, my go-to. I always leaned on alcohol. I became a pretty heavy drinker. And it was like I get off work and I'm going to have a really good mixed drink about this tall. And sometimes it was like every night. And Kevin started making like remarks about it, and I was just like, well, you don't know what I deal with, Yeah. So that was kind of creating a divide. We like to hunt and fish, so we were hunting a bunch back then, but it slowly got to where he was wanting to hunt more in bigger areas, and a lot of those areas were further away, so he was gone a lot. Sometimes I would go with him, but it's really expensive when you're hunting out of state. So there was some times where I just like, I'm not going to go. And I started really retreating into myself, not looking for any help, because at that point I was just like, nobody can help me. This is life now. So it was kind of like little bickering, financial issues, nothing major. We still did pretty good. But just stupid spending, that we put ourselves in binds that were totally avoidable, but you bicker about those things. And
I don't think anyone can relate to that.
no, not at all. But we kind of got to a point where I was so withdrawn from myself or from our relationship, and dependent on totally food, alcohol. That's just where I was. I was just in such a dark place. And the medicine, I didn't realize at the time, wasn't really helping me. It was just kind of making me numb. So I didn't really have, excuse me, I didn't really have any feelings at that point. So around 2018, we decided, you know what we need? We need a baby. That'll fix everything.
100% gonna fix everything.
It's gonna fix everything. I need a baby. Biological clock is ticking. So we started trying to have a baby. And 2019, we had Reese. And around that time was the pandemic. And I had made like a school change. And the postpartum depression really kicked in, and I was unmedicated at the time because I came off my medication whenever I had Reese. So it was really, really dark, and Kevin was running away from me because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not blaming myself, but like I was absolutely miserable to be around. I wasn't hanging out with any of my friends, aside from like some of the teachers that could like my teacher friends that could commiserate with me, and they truly cared for me. But there was a lot of darkness that surrounded me, and I just like I try to cling on to everything that was good that was around me. Reese, the dogs, my family. But we all know, a lot of that's not God. That's people will fail you. So Kevin was leaving like almost every single weekend to either race or hunt or fish, and we weren't really doing anything that was beneficial for our marriage. And the day-to-day things for a mom, plus on top of teaching, was like insurmountable. Like it was just so heavy. And when you're already battling depression and anxiety, you feel like you're treading water that is just getting deeper and deeper. And you're so tired that if you don't stop, you're just, you're going to drown. And you just have that panic all the time. And I tried expressing that to Kevin. And he was just like, well, I mean, that's what being a mom's about, So I was like, okay, well, I just got to buckle up. And he didn't really, at the time, understand like the treatment of anxiety. He was he thought, well, just don't worry about it. I'm like, that's the worst thing you could say to somebody with anxiety. Don't worry about it. But he got to the point where he was gone all the time. I didn't try to go to any races or anything, and it was just really, really dark. And there was one weekend I remember very, very well. I didn't want to really pawn Reese off on anybody, but I knew in my head I was at the point where I was having panic attacks multiple times a day. I had seen a therapist. I'd gotten different medications, and all of it was just made it numb. But one afternoon, it was like a Thursday. Kevin always left on a Thursday. He went to go to the woods, which was in Alabama. And he was like, "Are you good?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And he left, and I had the baby. And then I just remember breaking down to my knees and just crying in my closet. And I felt so alone. I feel like I couldn't tell anybody, that because everybody had already heard me complain, and it was just always negative, and nobody wants to be around someone that's negative all the time. I mean, we talk about in class, like avoid grumbling, So I get it, but still there has to be a community for someone to go to that's safe, and they know that they can go to them when they suffer. And that afternoon, I just remember crying and thinking, like, you know what? It would be so much easier if I just wasn't here. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the moment I was like, oh, we just crossed a line. And I was so deep in my thoughts, and I know now, like the devil just had a full grasp of everything in me. And I even like sat there, and I was like, yeah, we can do it. We can just get in the car. We'll go drop Reese off. I even had the tree picked out that what I was going to go do. But right about that time, while I was crying and thinking about this and trying to plan it out, Kevin called me. He said, "Are you okay?" I said, "No." And he was like, "What's going on? You seem weird." And I was just like, "I think this is the part where I get Baker acted." And he was like, "Hold up. What do you mean?" And he turned around, he came back home, called my mom. And my mom immediately is freaking out, like, get her to a therapist, get her all these things. So I went back to my doctor, got on some different medication, but really made it a priority to start seeing a counselor regularly, because I was kind of seeing it just sporadic when I was like having episodes and everything. And I started journaling and started doing a lot of self-reflection, started reading the Bible. And we got to, we had the pandemic, so I was at home a bunch. And during the pandemic, I realized, okay, I'm going to have to shift how I teach. And I didn't realize it, that this was the plans starting to unfold for me. I was at rock bottom. I felt like we were like, I had to get out of teaching because I wasn't passionate about it. I love the kids. Don't get me wrong. I love the kids. But the work on top of what I was dealing with as a mom and dealing with, just the anxiety and depression. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but like taking medication just so you can get through your work day. That's a reality check right there. There's something else going on that we got to fix. So I started making my own teacher resources because as a science teacher, you can't really do labs through the TV screen or the computer screen. So I had to start creating my own resources and everything. And that's what I started doing. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? Create a teacher store like everybody else was doing during the pandemic. But that was like kind of a motivator for me. That was like what brought me joy. And that's where I kind of discovered my passion for design and how I could take my experience from teaching and apply it to do something else. So there, like I started seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Well, towards, I think it was the end of 2021, or not the end of 2021, going into 2021, I kind of had a plan of like how I was going to open that teacher store. And I was excited about it. And even my counselor was just like, yeah, you just seeing the difference in your face light up when you talk about what you've been doing to what you want to do. She was like, you have so much energy around it. She was like, you definitely, that's something you need to pursue. You need to pursue your passion. So I was like, okay. And even my students would get excited when I would create a new resource or I create new images and everything. So I was like, okay, this is it. Well, one day I went out with some teacher friends of mine and we went shopping, and one of my good friends, she like kind of leaned on me and we got to talking. We had a long drive. And we were talking about some of like her marriage issues, and I started thinking about it and I was like, well, Kevin does that and Kevin does that and Kevin does that. And, some red flags started popping up, but in my head, I was like, he would never hurt me. He'd never leave me. I'm good. I'm too good of a catch. I'm like,
I mean, you are a good.
I'm a good catch. You are, but like, I'm too good for him to like, betray me like that. So I just wrote it off and didn't think anything about it. I was just like, that's just got to be a coincidence. And I even like kind of told him about it, and he was just like, yeah, no, that's crazy. I was like, okay, I didn't think anything else about it. Well, we were trying to like reconnect. And around my birthday in April, we decided, let's go to Biloxi. Let's go to Biloxi and get a room, chill out for the weekend. It's going to be great. I was like, okay, that sounds good. And I'm still having panic attacks at this point. I'm pretty deep in depression, but I'm still seeing a therapist and everything. And we went to the Hard Rock, and I had a great time. But the entire weekend, something was off. Kevin complained about everything. And I've told him this to his face. Like, I was like, you just were absolutely miserable the whole weekend. We went out to the Ruth Chris place. That place was expensive and had like a huge tomahawk steak. I got dressed up, everything. And we had a nice room. I was just like, I don't understand why he's just so off. He was so distant the whole weekend, on his phone. And I was just like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm dressed real cute. Like, I didn't know. I was so baffled and so mad and so hurt that I was just like, well, if you don't like me, then just say that, like, is this divorce? Like, where are we at? But again, I was just like, you know what? It's fine. It's just pick your battles, Morgan, pick your battles. But still, I had those things I heard from my friend in the back of my head, like, well, that sounds a lot like what so-and-so said. And a couple weeks later, he went to the racetrack, and I was home with Reese, and I got a message on Facebook Messenger from a friend of ours, mutual friend of ours. And he told me things that made my world crash down. it's hard saying it out loud. He told me all of these horrible things that Kevin was doing behind my back and hiding in secret. And that was the tip of the infidelity iceberg that happened in 2021. So I won't go into a lot of detail about it, but just you think about it, it probably happened. So that evening he was at the racetrack, and he basically knew I had my sister-in-law come and get Reese, but he knew I knew at that point. And that's kind of a part of his own testimony he shares in his story. But I let him come home because one thing in our, what is it called? Our, before you get married, premarital counseling. We had a friend of ours, an older gentleman that didn't go to the same church as us or anything like that. We didn't go to church a lot, but he was the one that married us, and he did our premarital counseling. He even got certified, became a notary so he could marry us. He had us study scripture before we got married, and all Corinthians all over the place, man. But one thing that I never forgot that he said, and it sticks to me to this day, he said, no matter what happens, do not leave. Mm-hmm. And that didn't mean like obviously if you're in danger from your spouse, by all means, try to get away. But what he meant was, okay, let's say you're bickering, you're fighting, whatever, and you're just like, I got to get away. I gotta get away. Go to a different room in your house if you can safely. Go to your car, lock the door if you can. Just don't go off property, because you never know what would happen and what was the last words that you said to your spouse. That's and good. That really stuck with me. I was just like, I am so mad at him. Like, I don't know what the end of our story is at that point on that day, but I was like, but if I left and something happened to me or something happened to him, I would be beside myself. So the next morning, we sat down on the porch together and had coffee, and we let it all out. He told me all the things. It was kind of a long period of time over, I don't even know how long, but things came out. The whole truth has come out. He has since repented. We'll just say that. But that particular day, we just ironed out the immediate details, and we set like 3 standards. We needed to go to church. We needed to join a church. We needed to get baptized. That was step 1. Mm-hmm. Step 2 was going to get Morgan a new job, because the anxiety and depression was not the cause, but it definitely was not helping, you know? So getting a new job was a big deal, because that was a lot of the source of the panic attacks and the anxiety. And then the third thing was to work on our marriage. So June 17th, we got baptized. Or actually, excuse me, let me back up. Mother's Day of 2021, we went to Marcus Pointe Baptist Church. The Seconders invited us, so
shout out to Beulah.
Well, we actually went to main campus first on Mother's Day. I just remember crying the whole time, just because I truly felt God's presence that day. I was like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. Just like, you ever get that confirmation of like, this is where I'm supposed to be? And I've had some, I'm not going to bash, but like I've had some negative experiences trying to join churches and stuff. But I've never felt that presence in any of them. I've had good worship and, things like that, but I've never had that overwhelming feeling of the Holy Spirit. So we both left. We didn't take Reese there because we didn't know how he would do in the daycare. So we left, and we got in the car, and he was like, he always likes to debrief after every event. It doesn't matter what it is. Like when I leave here, he's gonna be like, "How did it go?" And his second question will be, "Did you enjoy it?" And I love him for it. But he asked me, he was like, "Well, what did you think?" And I said, "I loved it. And he was like, really? I did too. I was like, yeah, let's go back next Sunday. And the next Sunday, I think that was our first visit to the Beulah campus. And that's where we met you guys. And I just remember, like, I was like, okay, I'm going to this school that I happened to have taught at, or I was teaching at the time. And I was like, okay, this is weird. Because, like, I'm in the cafeteria where I eat lunch, and it was, like, totally weird. But, like, I still felt that Holy Spirit presence during sermon, during worship and everything. I was like, nope, this is it. This is where we go. Reese loved it. He had the best time in the back. And
Still
so
does.
that still does. Still has the best time. A little too much fun, if you ask me.
I think it's cool too. Like, not to interrupt you, but
No,
like,
you're good.
you had obviously these really negative experiences in your job, and I don't think it was per se the school itself, but like, you probably connected a lot of depression and anxiety when you walked in those doors. But the fact that, like, God was so good that he was able to turn over a goodness to that space and change that for you, rather than it being a negative space that you walked into where you felt like,
Yeah.
this is part of the source of where my depression and my anxiety is coming from. It's, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Even in a cafeteria where you eat lunch, like, I can still be good and I can still be right beside you, and I am right beside you. Like, how
Right.
cool is that?
Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
testament of church is not the building.
That's right.
No.
It's so much more than that.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was times where I would I would think I would be in my classroom, and that was when I was really deep in, like, of course I was still journaling and stuff, but like I was really deep into praying over my spaces. And I was praying over my classroom. I was praying over specific chairs where I knew students sat that I knew were going through a hard time. That I remember that last year I was there, or the second to last year I was there. There was some students that I was so worried about, and I took that emotion home with me. Not that they were in danger, just their situation and what they had to deal with at such a young age was just so much. And I just prayed over those situations and everything. So definitely agree. Church is not the building. It's,
Yeah.
it's wherever you want, or two or more are gathered, actually.
That's right.
But we got baptized in June 17th, and I think the rest was history after that. But what did we start doing? We did the no, we didn't do the tithe challenge that year. Oh, I started applying to different jobs, and there was 3 sermons that happened back to back to back after I got baptized. And this is when I was like in the middle. I don't know if you've ever, like, in the middle of a sermon, you just been like,
He's talking to me.
Yep.
and I think, like, every Sunday after the Sunday I got baptized, every Sunday after that, and I can pull receipts. I got them right here. I brought my sermon notes with me. I could pull receipts. Every Sunday after that, it was like Jesus was sitting right next to me, and it was just like, girl, let me tell you what we about to do, because it's about to go down. And me and Kevin had a plan. We've always been planners. It's like we have 7-year plans, 8-year plans, 10-year plans.
I can barely plan, like, what I'm doing tomorrow, so I'd really admire that. And, like, thank
Babe,
goodness,
I'll play your tomorrow.
thank goodness for you and Megan, because if it wasn't for y'all, like, I'd be like floating.
We literally had a conversation about planning.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm the worst, and I'm so sorry. Like, that's just not a quality.
Yeah.
I have it at work, so I think that's what it is. Like,
Yeah.
at work, I'm a planner, and I'm so organized, and I have, like, my project plans and all the things that I'm doing, that in my life, I don't want to do that, because like, I'm sick of it. At the time, at the end of the week, like, I don't want to plan
You
anything.
get burnt out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a quality that, like, that's why God makes us all different.
Right.
Because we need people like you who are going to, like, make us
Make us plan.
jump into the lake. You know? That's the first thing.
Oh, great. So glad that I almost made you drown.
That's the first thing that came to
Wonderful.
mind. Get on the roller coaster, the things like that, like where it's that we don't get so much stuck in our OCD planning that
Yeah.
we enjoy life and have fun. And I think that's why God makes us.
That's much better. Thank you.
The lake. I mean, I did used to jump into a lake. That's why I came down. Sorry. Anyways, moving on. Surfing. We'll take up surfing.
I mean, I
lessons.
love to surf, but no, like,
You surf?
Yeah. So my dad was a surfer. So when we lived in California, like he grew up in Los Angeles too, but he went to San Diego to OB, and he spent all of his days like surfing. So we used to surf when I was younger, and then we used to go to Hawaii every year when I was young and I was an only child. And my dad would take us to Hawaii, and he actually got to surf pipe in Hawaii too. Like, it was pretty cool.
Sorry, a little
Did
fun
you hear
fact.
that Southern slang pop in there? Hawaii.
No.
Hawaii. Yeah.
Y'all make fun of me. I guess I have been Southernized.
You have been.
Yeah.
You,
Welcome
when
to
you
the
started
culture.
out, hey y'all.
Hey, y'all. How y'all doing?
It's
We've been here for 7 years.
It's like I'm back home, so I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It only takes 2.
I feel like it only takes a month.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait till you start saying,
Especially-
oh,
You taught me buggies and pallets and
I say that.
bag chairs.
bag chairs. Okay, in the comments, I need you to do a debate for us right now. What do you call the chair that you bring with you, like to the beach or to camping?
A lawn chair?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's what we call it. But what does Morgan call it?
I call it a bag chair.
Oh, I've never heard it
Or
called a bag
camping.
chair.
Or a camping chair. Because it's the camping chair that comes in the bag. So it's a bag chair.
It's either a lawn chair or a folding chair.
Bag chair. It's a chair in a bag.
Yeah, I think I call it a lawn chair. Now I don't even know what I call it.
I don't know.
Okay, back to your 7-year
Yes.
planning. I'm sorry for
7-year
the
planning.
squirrel.
Squirrel. It's okay. I'm used to it. That's what I do at work. Yeah, I started seeing these things. I think this first sermon that started screaming to me was the Crisis of Belief one. That was Scott Blanchard. And it was like speaking directly to me. I'm going to pull a receipt real quick because there was just one part that I did want to share with y'all today.
Yeah.
It was prayer is a tool God bends our will to his will. And that was one of my like little notes that I wrote there that Scott had said during that sermon. The point he was trying to make was wrestle with God in prayer. And I was like, I don't know how to do that, but I'm just going to really pray a bunch. And that's kind of where I started. And like, it started like, I remember the first time, like I started really being faithful praying. I could feel like the panic attacks still coming. So like at that time, like I was still dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression. And I actually had the diagnosis of depression at that point. And I remember I was at the red light at Beulah Road and I could see the school and I was like, oh gosh, here we go. And there was just like, there's something, just what's going to happen today, or is so-and-so going to be, am I going to have to break up a fight today? Like just those types of things. And I was just like, the first prayer I prayed was, Lord, just help me. And that was it. And he did that day. I won't say how, but he did that day. The other one was hold tightly to your faith, but hold loosely to your plans. And that was the one that I was like, okay, God, will do. And then the couple Sundays, like 2 Sundays later, it was Pastor Godfrey did the war. And like, that's when like, oh, this is how you pray. This is how you fight those spiritual battles, And then the other one that I think was the most impactful, and still to this day, I'm seeing answers to that prayer, was the sermon Godfrey did. It was, please give me influence. And the prayer that day that he said was, Lord, expand my coast. I love simple prayers. I love them. I'm very short and sweet to the point. And I prayed that prayer that day. Gordon Godfrey, I prayed that prayer that day. And the redemption after that point, boy, did he expand my coast and give me influence. I started applying to different jobs at that point, and I was getting rejection after rejection after rejection. But finally, I saw I had an in, and my sisters helped me, and I finally landed a job, and I was able to leave teaching December of 2021, and I knew the job I got, I became like a trainer, which I'm still teaching, but I'm just teaching adults. But I'm not breaking up fights.
Sometimes teaching adults is harder.
It is.
Can we just say that out loud?
Because, well, not just that, though, they learn different too.
They do.
And I had to really hone in my skills on that. But I mean, thankfully, a lot of the adults I was training were still really young, so they still kind of fell into like my teaching style. But from that point, I knew what my dream job was. I finally had a focus, and I knew exactly. I had done my research. God had gave me all of the experience I needed. I didn't know it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that trying to create a teachers pay teachers, no spons, teachers pay teachers store. I didn't think trying to do that would actually give me the tools and the experience I needed to land the job that I have today. But all of those things, from facilitating, I did some stuff for the district, and all of that, just all of those little pieces sprinkled in that I was just like trudging through, even though I was like, just had the mask of anxiety and depression. I was still working, but I was just so bummed and discouraged about doing those things. I was able to use those tools, even though I didn't understand at the time why I was doing that. I mean, sometimes it was just to make a little extra side money, but to be able to leverage that and apply for a job that was my dream job, that's when I was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to stop trying to do things my way.
Yes.
And I'm just going to start listening whenever you tell me to do things. Sorry, God.
I think like all three of us can say in full confidence here that we love what we do. And I don't think that everybody that's listening probably could say that. But there was a time, I think all three of us have gone through a season where God prepared us for the moment to where we're in the careers or the businesses that we own. What could you say to somebody right now that maybe is feeling discontentment in where they're at? Maybe they're not happy with their job, but I mean, we all got bills to pay.
Yeah, we got bills to pay.
So
There's two things that come to mind. Because when I got my dream job, it wasn't right off the bat. The trainer job was not the dream job. I started being a lot more faithful in church. So I know Pastor does a lot with the 90-day tithe challenge. And I know, I mean, just depending on your circumstance, I know that's hard. But me and Kevin at the time, we were like, let's try it out. Let's see what's going on. Let's try it. Nothing ain't gonna hurt anything. And when we did, during that 90 days, I applied for a dream job, and I got it. During that 90 days, there was a week where we had to choose between buying groceries and tithing, and we chose to tithe. And then not even, like, literally the next day, I found out my company was giving out Christmas bonuses, and they're 3 times more than what they normally were that week. Wow. That was 3 months early. And also Kevin's helped start Carting for Christ during that time as well. So there was just so much from being faithful, not just in tithes. We were serving in other capacities too. So, and we were in our marriage small group at that point too. And that's where our marriage kind of started healing. So being faithful in all of those capacities, and just, even if it's a little bit, even if it's just that forward prayer of, Lord, just help me, and being able to trust in God, being faithful would be my first step. Second one would be just try. You never know. Like, the job I applied for, I didn't think I was qualified for it. I was like, there ain't no way, but I'm going to try. But you never know, like, when you're in so much discomfort, and we're used to it. You're in your comfort zone, even though, like, your situation might stink. But you never know until you take that leap of faith and jump out of that circle if you can fly. That Holy Spirit got you. You just got to be faithful to it and trust in Him.
that's good.
It's really good. So a lot of times, I typically like to ask for scripture that you've clinged to. But as I've listened to you, I'm still going to ask you.
Okay.
But I really want to share because
Get my Bible
this
out.
passage really jumped out to me because similar, not the same circumstances, but different, certain things that you've gone through, I can relate to, especially anxiety and depression. And so as you're talking, I was like, okay, I got to share this passage because I think it's relatable, not just, it's really relatable to anybody. But I think you've said it before, women tend to suffer in silence and alone, and we really struggle with anxiety and depression. So 1 Peter 5, 6 through 10, I'm going to read it. And then I'm still going to ask you, though, what scripture.
Okay.
So it's the same one. You can still say it. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Be sober-minded. Be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in your faith, knowing that the same kinds of suffering are being experienced by your brotherhood throughout the world. And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. And I think your testimony that you share is such a good example of that, because as you've been walking through anxiety and depression, you've cast that on him because you know that he cares for you. And you can see in what God has been doing in you and your marriage and your personal walk that he's restoring and he's establishing you. So it's cool to see like scripture brought to life in your testimony. So I just thought I'd share that because it came to mind as you were talking. So
Yeah, because there was I don't want to leave everybody on a cliffhanger because we don't need like a 3-part Morgan series. But
I mean, we can.
we did. We did find healing in church, and like we're doing really good now. We're serving faithfully. We found that Tim Ross series that with y'all's married small group that really taught us how to communicate and unpack our baggage, which is the big thing. If you're having marriage trouble, unpack that baggage. And sometimes you might need that mediator to be in there to help you.
That's right.
So I did want to point that out too.
I also want to say, like, to somebody that's listening right now that maybe is in the season where they're struggling with their marriage, your marriage is never too far gone for God to heal. And I want you to believe that right now. There's no too far gone for God to restore. And we've seen it within our church. We've seen it within our friends. Mike and I have seen it in our own marriage. If you trust in God and you've committed yourself to that person and God has given you that person, he can restore that, and he can use the pain for beautiful, just like he's using your story to heal and help others who maybe are walking through it. I know Kevin shared his testimony with a bunch of men at a men's meeting and was able to open up the conversation about that. And I think a lot of times in church we're afraid to talk about the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things to talk about is that everybody struggles in their marriage.
Yep.
Period. There is no marriage that is free from sin, that is free from the devil trying to chase after. And I think that it's so important for you to have people in your corner that are biblical, that are giving you biblical advice, because the worldly advice is for you to throw in the towel and walk away. And that's the easy thing to do.
Way.
And you stuck through it, even when you didn't want to. I'm sure there was many times you wanted to walk out that door, but you clung to God's promises.
Yeah, the betrayal trauma is so hard after the fact. So if you're suffering from betrayal trauma, there are resources out there for you. And everybody's healing journey is so different, and just depending on the circumstances, dealing with triggers and stuff. I mean, I probably need to do a trigger warning on this before this, because listening to things sometimes trigger memories. And especially if you're going through it, I mean, it's hard. But there are resources out there for you, and there's several studies that help with the forgiveness aspect, if that's the route you choose to take. Because everybody's journey is a little bit different. Everybody's choices are, there's obviously, the biblical way and what what it says, but there's also, you got to protect yourself.
That's right.
And there's a safety aspect
Correct.
too. That was not the case with me. I was completely safe. But I mean, it still stinks.
Yeah. And I think, one thing that we forget is that God never leaves us.
No.
And I think if you have biblical friends in your life that are lifting you up, they're going to stick around in the hard times. I hope they do. At least the friends that I have, even when you're mad at that person or you don't agree with the sin, you can stand beside them and you can give them the truth and you can sit them down and you can, have those conversations. And I think y'all have done a really great job at being open, and I appreciate you, because nobody wants to share their public.
Yeah.
I mean, we all sin. Sometimes we just don't want to tell people, but, private sin, public sin, whatever it is. I appreciate your openness and your candidness and just being able to reach other women that I'm sure are walking through what you're walking through.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I wanted to come on and share that. It's still hard to talk about it and reflect it, because I definitely in the midst of it, it triggered some things. But I know I've witnessed to people before, and not realize that they were going through the same thing. But after the conversation, even in something as public as a small group, I've had people reach back out to me and hey, I feel for you. I'm going through the same thing. Can you just pray for me? And and I'm of course I would.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's someone out there listening to this today, I mean, if you don't have a community of women, I know where you can find one. We meet at once every second Tuesday.
Yes.
Of the month.
Yes,
Salty
we do.
Sisters.
Yeah.
You have questions. I know you do, Megan.
So did you have
I do.
any scripture that you like to, for somebody who's in the trenches right now, that you can point them to?
The first one, hold up, because I don't want to misquote anything. So if you're somebody that's going through anxiety and depression, I know this was one, it's really this kind of whole chapter of Matthew 6, but specifically starting at verse 5. Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? And there's other points in this chapter, and another one was in which of you, this was my favorite part, in which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to his span of life? And I'm don't call me out like that. Yeah, that would be the first one that I would cling to and write down. I would have Post-it notes at work on my computer and things. And that's the one that really hit home, just reading those in that order. The end of it, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. That's definitely what I needed at that time, but I didn't know. I was, of course, journaling in it, but I didn't know I needed it at that time. But today, my verse of the year, Megan,
I wonder what that is.
yeah, Megan made me choose a verse of the year this year, but this is also one that has appeared, when it just appears all the time, and you just keep seeing the anxious one appeared to me all the time, but I never thought to just write it down or to plug it on my Bible app. I didn't know you could do that until this past year. But this is Proverbs 3 verses 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean onto your own understanding. And always acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. And I would definitely write that one down somewhere where you see it all the time, because that is something I need a constant reminder of, not just to trust him, but also when you have no control of your life situation, having to trust him to do a good work in others is really hard. And if you're a control freak, I'm a control freak, / people pleaser. So
Same.
It was really,
Me too.
that's one hurdle I really I was battling, was trusting God to do a good work through Kevin, and using the Holy Spirit to have him do the right things. So those would be my two.
I have a question. Do you feel like your marriage is stronger than it was?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. One, the communication aspect is, we are definitely because this was just 2021, so there's still, triggers there. I'm not going to lie. There's still hard days.
Well, you're human.
Yeah, I'm human, and sin is sin. and Kevin's human. But I feel like we have leveled the playing field and have started, like, we started building our foundation a little bit more. And so now we have something a lot more sturdy to fall back on, and we are able to check each other and also create, this is the important part of the communication, is creating a safe space where you can be vulnerable and bring things to the table without your partner being mad or getting mad, I should say.
That's good.
That was the hard thing, because I'm somebody who likes to jump to conclusions.
No, not at all.
And Kevin is someone that wants to fix everything. So that was something we definitely had to work on. But I definitely feel like we're there, and we're definitely working on rebuilding trust. Rebuilding trust is always super, super hard, and it's the time is different for everybody. But I feel like with the tools that we have now, we're good.
Good. That's
awesome. Do a little shift as we close things out. And it could be, honestly, the answer to this could be a part of what you've already shared. So you can always just elaborate on it if you want to. But want to start a small segment called The Moment at the Well. So was there a pivotal moment in your life that you can reflect on now that just God was so evident to you?
I think it was after that week after I got baptized, and sitting in the church pew, and I was literally like, Jesus is sitting right next to me. And he was speaking to me, giving me the tools I needed to start making the moves to change my trajectory. Like, that was when everything shifted. And like, I think even Kevin shared this in his testimony when he shared it at that men's event, that same day, I think he actually took my sermon notes there and was like reading it too. I think that was when everything shifted for me. But another side of that is, not only did I get the tools, but I became more faithful. I think that is the key there, is being more faithful.
That's good. I did just want to do like a little shout out. If you're listening to this podcast and you're in a very bad situation and you need help, please reach out to us. Megan and I will help find you help. And I also want to get rid of the negative stigma that goes around looking for help. If you're struggling right now and you need help, please reach out. We will not judge you. We will come alongside you. We will love you. We will pray for you. We will help in any capacity that we can. And sometimes we need a little bit more help than we can even do ourselves. You know, you might need some help with the therapist, or you might need help with medication, and that's okay. God created those things, and they are there for a reason. So anybody that's listening that maybe is struggling and they're struggling in the silence, know that you can reach out to Megan and I privately. You will remain anonymous, and we will help you however we can. And this is a safe space, and I want you to know that we love you, and we will be praying for you. Have anything else that you want to share, Morgan, before we close it out?
Salty Sisters on Tuesday.
Yeah. So if you're local to Pensacola, we have what's called Salty Sisters, which is a great name. And that is a women's ministry that we do once a month. And we meet at the Beulah Community Center at 6:30 every second Tuesday of the month. And this time we're doing game night.
Whoop, whoop.
So we got some cool game nights. And then the following month, we're going to have a worship. The following month we're going to have a worship night as well in July. So if you want to join us, we would love for you to join us. But if you want to get plugged in, or you have any questions or need help getting plugged in, Megan and I would love to help you get plugged in.
Absolutely. And there is, I think, a big part of healing is community. Because I think whenever you're in the trenches of your struggles, you typically tend to isolate yourselves. And allowing yourself to be vulnerable and sharing your heart with others and realizing, other people struggle too. I think going even back to our marriage class that she was talking about, like, that was such a big thing for Zach and I in our marriage, was to hear other people, we're not the only ones that struggle. And like, other people argue and have fights. And so like, it was knowing that other couples, and then in our small group on Wednesdays and Salty Sisters, like, that fellowship with others, knowing that you don't have to struggle alone, that you have people coming alongside of you and praying for you and loving you through it, is incredibly important to your healing journey. So,
And you don't have to be perfect and fixed to
That's
join
right.
one. That's another
Exactly.
stigma. That's what a lot of people are afraid to show up.
Yeah, I think that's another stigma that I think is churches are held to, is that, you know, everybody's perfect, everybody shows up on Sunday, everybody's okay. It is not okay, and it's okay not to be okay. And we have a culture here in our church, and if you're in a different state, we can help you find that, but you don't have to have it all together. And in fact, that's what the church is: broken people. It's like a hospital. So yeah.
good stuff. Well, Morgan, we really appreciate you
Thanks
being
for having me.
vulnerable and
So much
sharing your
fun.
heart.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye,
ya.
y'all.
It's a brand new day.